855-7, because I'm happy to take your calls and hash these things out. Marijuana is a big problem. So when we went to a special law affecting driving under the influence of marijuana, we established a threshold of 5 nanograms. That's what's tested in your blood at the time there's a blood draw, if you consent, and people refusing left and right, which is a bad issue, but we'll talk about that another time. And then the jury's told if you have 5 nanograms or more in your blood, then you can presume the person was under the influence. This is bad. It's bad science, because regular users of marijuana may even register 16 nanograms, and an expert will come in and say there's such a regular user, it like builds up in their fat, that you can't use that objective test to determine whether or not they have driven under the influence. So really what we need to do is we need to transfer like we do for DUI, under the influence of alcohol, where if you're 0.8 or greater, you're guilty. If you're 5 nanograms or greater, you're guilty. I get it, that bucks the science that's going to say that you may not be under the influence, right? Because some of those people at 16 nanograms are not under the influence, but I think it's a trade-off. You want to be a regular user of marijuana? Give up your driver's license. And the reason I'm saying that is because some laws, the individual rights have to bow to the greater good. And the danger here is that people who are driving at these high levels of marijuana are intoxicated and a danger to us. So the exchange for that has got to be that we go away from this assumption to just a flat out, if you're at a certain nanogram level, you're under the influence.
Okay, are we good? Any more questions?
I've got one more.
Oh.
I'll just ask about that. Bruce, just out of curiosity, when someone makes a payment to the charitable contribution, do they also get a fine or in lieu of? Because I want to know how we can build revenues and resources.
This is generally speaking what happens, and why this program, I think, initially developed. If you're charged with the offense of driving under a revoked license, you've lost your license, you didn't pay your child support, you didn't pay your ticket, you got too many offenses, your driver's license is going to be revoked upon conviction for an additional year. So what happens then? It becomes the revolving door. So the DA's office, my predecessors, created a program, and they said, look, let's get people off the revolving door. Let's not convict them. Let's have them go to the DMV before they get convicted and get their license back. And in exchange, we'll reduce the charge to a very low-level traffic offense that doesn't result in a license revocation. So then when they come through the courthouse doors with their license, we reduce it to a very minor traffic offense, usually allowing an unlicensed person to drive. That's kind of a fiction. They pay a very small fine, much less, and they're not facing any jail time than they would have before. So maybe they're paying a $75 fine to the court, and then they're paying a contribution through the DA's office of $150, or they can perform community service at an exchange rate of $25 per 1 hour of community service. So the money that they pay in fines, and if we had kept on the charge for the highest charge, goes right back to Denver. It doesn't stay in the community. Your fines to the court don't go to your local community, but the charitable contributions, one of the criteria, so help victims, deter violence, particularly keeping kids out of trouble, and the money all stays within the 4 counties.
If I may respond, that logic of keeping the money in the local community would also mean that we should not pay our taxes, because that money goes to the state or the federal government to do things that they may wish to do, like Colorado Air National Guard flying air tankers to put out forest fires, or Colorado Department of Transportation fixing our roads, when we could keep the money right here in our county by not paying our taxes. I think that's a false argument.
Phil, yeah.
Phil North. I'm a member of the Veterans Coalition in Clear Creek County, and Mr. Brown and Mr. Carey have both spoken before the Clear Creek County Veterans Coalition, and Veterans Coalition is interested in a program called Veterans Treatment Court, which is a national program. And Mr. Brown has spoken about a national program called Vet Connect, which he is about to institute. And Mr. Carey has spoken about problem-solving courts, which sound like something that the veterans need. Whereas the Veterans Treatment Court is a national program that recognizes veterans that come into the justice system that need treatment. And I was wondering if the two of you could explain the difference between your concept of a Veterans Treatment Court or a Vet Connect Court.
Thanks, Phil. So we wanted a Veterans Treatment Court in Clear Creek County. That's the best model, but one of the big doubts is, will we have enough veterans to support it? So for example, in all of the Front Range counties, they have people showing up basically once a week at a dedicated docket time in order to speak only to those veterans' cases. There's some doubt, even amongst the stakeholders, of whether we'll get to the critical mass, and we'll be part of the program is outreach and Vet Connect to identify veterans and push them towards services. It's, we hope, a lead-in to maybe a more, what I would call bricks and mortar program, but it's a question of not having the resource base, maybe in terms of numbers of veterans coming through the court and a willingness of the system. I can't do this alone. Remember, I'm just one guy around the table. Also around the table are probation, the chief judge, the VA, Troy Erickson, and we've tried to craft this program, and I'll send it out to you to make it work. It's Veterans Court Light. We're not there yet, but we hope it to be a good first step.
I would use a Veterans Treatment Court, and I could dovetail it with a civilian problem-solving court with the veterans coming in before or after the non-serving parties and having their issues that are specific to veterans dealt with before or after the civilian population. So, for example, the veterans could come in half an hour before, then the civilians come in for an hour of problem-solving court, and then they all leave together, or the veterans could stay afterward, but often they would all want to leave at the same time to intermingle with each other and the judge after court. I've been told that a problem here in Clear Creek is that BI, it used to be behavioral intervention, now it just goes by the initials BI, which serves Eagle and Summit counties as the exclusive private probation, doing blood and urine testing, does not want to come into Clear Creek. Well, it seems like they could be given the option of going into Clear Creek or finding someone that would do Eagle, Summit, and Clear Creek and seeing if BI would reconsider their decision not to serve Clear Creek County.
Okay. Is that it? Anybody else? Great. Okay, so we'll take a couple of minutes here for closing statements, and who wants to go first?
I'll be happy to go first.
Okay.
So, thanks very much for coming to Clear Creek County. You know, this is a really hard job that I've been doing the last 4 years. I thought I worked hard as a defense attorney. I wore more hats in any given week than you all can imagine, including coming to forums like this, which is good. And the nice thing about elections is they make me get out and they talk to people, and I'm not just talking to cops all day and reading files. But I also feel that my work is not done yet, and that some of the goals that I had, maybe to start with, are not done. But I'll tell you just about one. And In Clear Creek County in April, we had a horrific crime. The woman was doused with gasoline and lit on fire, and she died. I've made promises to that victim's family. I will be the lead prosecutor. We will hold the offender responsible. And if for no other reason, programming, other opportunities to go and testify at the legislature, I have one goal, and that's to bring this family justice.
Personnel?
I guess in closing, what I would like to say is, again, I'm doing this just for the reason that I'm not a politician. That's really my reason, and I know that sounds silly, but I don't have some higher aspirations, some big goal of personal gain. The only thing that I have in mind is what I'm running on, and that's to bring humanity back to our justice system. And I've been through the justice system. I got a DUI when I was 21. I was terrified, thought my life is over. Was too afraid to tell my mom. I wanted to go to law school. I thought this was the end for me. I got a public defender at zero money, and this guy looked at me and said, "You did it, now suck it up." And I just pled guilty. So afterwards, I wrote the judge a letter wanting to expunge my record and clear it, and he allowed it, which is something that's not allowed here in our state, at least not with DUIs. And I've been very open about it. I was open in my law school application. I've been open about it in job interviews. But it gave me this perspective of understanding, of knowing what it's like to make a mistake, of knowing what it's like to think your life is over, and of learning that lesson of stopping people from making the same mistake. I know what it feels like when a client is sitting across from me. I know what's going on through their head. I lost weight. I didn't sleep at night. And now that I look at it, honestly, I'm not that I'm glad that it happened, but I'm glad that I have that perspective and that understanding, and knowing what that judge did for me, of giving me the second chance. And to me, in that moment, when I was 21, looking at going through law school, that really, really brought my life back to me. And that was justice to me. And that's what I want to bring to this community. I want to bring the humanity. I want to bring back the justice. I want to give people that chance that they deserve.
Thank you all for coming tonight. I've worked hard all my life, and I will commit to you, and I would hope that both of these people would commit to you, that I will serve out the entire 4-year term if elected, and I will not seek any further political office. I will commit to you that the 9 things on the brochure that I passed out that are on my website, and that I committed to in April when I created that website, that I will institute those programs the first month that I am in office. I will commit to you that I will take 2 weeks vacation my first year in office, and Tyra Welsh will take 2 weeks vacation her first year in office. I learned 40 years ago as a sergeant in the Army that you lead by example. When I was in the field, my men ate first, and then I ate. I will keep that same work philosophy as district attorney. Thank you, and please vote for Bruce Carey.
Thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed it.
How about a thank you to Kay for setting this all up?
Kay, do you want to remind them to pay their tax?
Oh yeah, there are full brochures over on the table if anybody wants.
What is that?
Oh, and everybody needs to settle up their drink tabs. We paid
It's
for
it's
the
a
appetizers, but
called
you're
a
on your own
GoPro.
with
It's like a
drinks.
little camera that you can take like skiing or hiking or do stuff like this. It's kind of cool.
So it's recorded, the whole
Yeah.
thing?
And then we're gonna give it to the candidates.
Is it available to people who can come?
Well, we're gonna give it to each of the candidates, I believe, so that they can post it wherever they. I know that we're gonna post it in Eagle County. We can talk to Kay to see how it's all happening, but I know that Bruce Carey has already asked for a copy, and I'm sure we'll give him one to send out too. And I'm sure it'll be posted on some sort of community television. That's what that's how I understand it.
There is such a thing?
I don't know about down here. Hey Kay. Is the